All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Hustle podcast. Today we've got a special guest and friend of mine, Mike Espiritu. Mike is out of the New Brunswick area. He's co-owner in a team. They're looking at doing some incredible things in real estate. He's also a Phil Jones expert. He's trained in exactly what to say. And we're just going to get to know Mike today, talk about his business, and understand how he became the phenomenon that he is. Him and his business partner doing incredible things. Hopefully, you guys love to hear it. Thanks for tuning in. Mike, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Andre. Yes, thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So, Mike, how long you been in real estate?
So out here in Moncton, New Brunswick, East Coast, approximately 5 years.
5 years. Now, you say that as if you were somewhere else doing real estate before.
I was born and raised out of Calgary, Alberta, out west, and I've always wanted to be in real estate ever since 9 years old. Believe it or not, I was talking to Gary and Colin about this, which is pretty incredible because, as you know, Phil Jones said, I don't know any 5 year old that ever thought about being a realtor, but me at nine, it was something I thought was really cool. I wanted to do. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, it's funny Phil said that because I have a video of my daughter that I'm going to show her someday. And it's a video of her at 4 years of age. And we're in the living room and she's packing up her bag and she's putting some stuff in her backpack, her play laptop, this and that. And I looked over and I have this all on video. And I said, honey, what are you doing? And she goes, Dad, I'm about to go sell 20 houses. And she walked out of the living room and went into the playroom to do her thing. And I kept
Love it.
that video because someday I'm going to show her that. So I think to Phil's point, yeah, sometimes people don't know that they want to be in real estate, and other times people do know that they want to be in real estate. And it's one of those things. We know when we know. I think I knew at a very young age. I know my Zoom's gotten in weird on us here. I knew at a very, very, very young age that I wanted to be a realtor. In fact, when I got in, was in my mid 20s, so it was a long time ago. And
Yeah.
here you are now, fulfilling and living that dream. So we were
Mhm.
in Calgary. We moved out east, and 5 years
Mhm.
ago we got our real estate license. You were one of those people that got their license and then had to put up with COVID.
That's right. That's right. I had to act fast, and my wife is from Nova Scotia. She got relocated out east. So I said, you know what? I love it out there. Let's head on out there. And when I understood the pace of life out here, I said, I might be able to get my real estate license. And then the world kind of went upside down, right? Like you're alluding to. So I really had. We knew nobody out in Moncton either, like zero on paper, not a single person. And the next following years made it very difficult to go out and meet people. That's for sure. Yeah.
So you had to do things. I'm going to assume you had to do things a whole lot different than most of us that have been doing this for a while. You had no database, no friend circle, no sphere of influence, and here you are running an amazing team. How'd you do it? Because I mean, we got a lot of new listeners that listen to the show. We got people from all levels of real estate. But you moved to a city and had to be a brand new agent and do it in COVID, and here you are still standing. Talk to me about that journey.
To your point, is it was very difficult, especially there, knowing nobody, not a single person. I had to find creative ways to get out there. Also in New Brunswick, we're the only other true bilingual speaking province, right? So French, and I don't speak French, so I had that against me in a big way as well in 2017 when we first moved out this way. So when I got licensed, I really had to try to promote myself and connect myself to communities within this region that I could align with. And the Filipino community out here was just starting to really grow. The Atlantic immigration pilot program was really starting to spin up, and the community started to grow out here as well. And I was lucky and fortunate that I was the only Filipino realtor in Moncton at the time that was licensed. So what I did within the community, because the Filipino community is very, very supportive, and we like to openly talk about things, is that on the way before even getting licensed, introduced myself, said that I was from out west. I came out here and I just wanted to immerse myself in the Filipino community. And this is going to be my next journey and my desire to help fellow Filipinos with their, their home buying process and journey and selling. Was what I wanted to eventually get to. So I literally documented it. When I got the books, took a photo of them, put them up there. It says, stay tuned, blah, blah. We created a lot of hype around it. And by the time I got licensed, it was a really big kind of online celebration. And they really rallied behind me and supported there. So that was a start.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I just did a post on this, a video on this, and I talked about niching down, right? Whether you should niche or you shouldn't, and specialist in everything tends to not do as well as people who pick a niche right away and kind of own it. Yeah, of course you're going to help every buyer from every culture and every religion and et cetera, et cetera. But you chose to focus on where you're from and your community, and it sounds like your community has your back all the way through it.
It does, and I'm very, very blessed for that. They do. There's a lot of supporters. I ended up sponsoring a really great colleague of mine out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, who was a Filipino starting out in real estate, brought him into Moncton now. It's funny because the community itself will rally behind us and behind myself in the beginning. And now I help, Filipinos, but I mean just everybody else as well, every culture, everybody, coming through, which is just so amazing. So the niching down aspect, the fear is to kind of pigeonhole yourself into that market. Um, but it
Right.
completely worked the opposite, which is great.
Mm. So by going niche, you actually ended up creating a bigger network for yourself than you originally anticipated. Am I getting that right?
Yes, yes, it did. And I think what really all came back down to, processes and experience, right? I remember back when my wife and I first built our home out in Calgary and then ended up selling that one. And, you hear how, had a lot of friends in the real estate industry in Calgary and how things happen that way. A lot of the positives and negatives of what we hear out there as agents out there, right? You have a whole bunch of agents, there's a lot of noise out there, but really focusing on the experience was really what carried that referral. And it was just referral after referral after referral, right? Just because, they were so happy with the experience.
Now, I mean, we're gonna have people listening going, okay, so we pick a niche and we start getting referrals. Well, what does that look like? I mean, you got to give us a little bit more than just, I picked the niche and I got into it. What sort of stuff are you doing to engage in the niche, to keep them coming back to you, to be of value and of service to your community? What does that look like?
So we understand, and I always thought about it this way, and you'll get this as well, and a lot of the listeners will understand the residential real estate market, which was how I started, and what I specialize in out here is very emotion based, right? The highest stakes emotion, when it goes out to trying to find the right home. And it isn't just, kind of, what we tell people and things like this. We really have to pay attention to the cues and let them know that it is a roller coaster and that we are there to represent them the entire way. That was always been my focus. I always wanted it to be that way from the moment, when I was 9 leading up to it, because I have that story in the background of really, what that's supposed to look like. So, just helping clients from the very beginning, from a very impactful buyer's consultation to show them how, the journey, the ups and downs, and what to expect, putting the elephants in the room, explaining to them, just actually taking the time and not only just talking at them or talking to them, but, listening in and asking questions based on, on their feelings and what curiosity they have, and not being, and the big thing, Andre, as well, is as soon as they got the keys, made it a very, very, very important um, part of my business, and just to always still remain in touch, always remain in touch. So, there's, an understanding who the family was, and putting myself down. And I understand that not everybody is going to be, relationship driven like that, but that is what really propelled my business here, not knowing anybody, right? And that's what they were talking about forever.
Well, I mean, I think it's important to know that realtors that are winning in this economy, really realtors that are winning in every economy, are service based and relational base, right? Like that, you can't have a great, strong business without those two things in your arsenal. Is you have to be relationship based and you have to be service based. So, you're doing the relationship stuff really, really well. You sounds like you're putting incredible service there. You've got systems and models for follow up. Are you doing anything up front? Like, I mean, are you knocking doors? Are you making cold calls? Are you purchasing online leads? Or are you simply saying, hey, my community is my tribe, so I'm going to be at everything. I'm going to sponsor the events. I'm going to go to everything. How are you dissecting for people to know, hey, Mike's the guy I got to call?
People love to help people, right? That's the big thing is people love to help people. And I don't door knock. I don't. I just don't because not only because it's not typically where I see my time being best served. I like to be able to create the rooms for community. I like to put on events. I like to, if there is a school that is in need of a fundraiser, I try to figure out how I can help with my event planning background of years ago and try to putting on events. Even at my daughter's school, we're putting on an event to raise big funds for a community accessible playground. When you give back to a community that gives back to you, um, you don't look at it from a reciprocal standpoint. I don't do things. I don't give a gift just in order to expect a gift back. But what happens is if we are in the industry of staying top of mind, when you help communities and you help people out without a need to request something back from them, they remember you. They remember you over a letter in the mail and things like that. That's it. It's not that'll be the talk of the table when they're having dinner or at their friend's house.
When every time they go to that playground, they remember who helped get that playground in there for their kids to play on, right? When they move into the neighborhood, you're going to be the guy that, hey, you see that great playground that you love over there? The realtor in this community is the one who made that happen for all of us.
Right, right. And you know that we just finished Red Day. I saw all the bags, on and that you put out there that you're doing. We helped the school clean up the outdoor place for a new disc golf course and an outdoor education spot, and then we made sure everybody knew about that too. So things that you do within the community just continue to transcend. So I always wanted to treat things like how many red days can I have in a year? Where can I be for bake sales? Where can I be for this and this? And just talk to people.
I love that. That message though is so simple, right? We just got to talk to people. Like it's not about, yes, sometimes you got to do all the other stuff we talked about, and for some people that's a better avenue than some of the other stuff. Maybe your city's too big, you can't niche it down into just one community and all of those other things. But at the end of the day, you got to be memorable and you got to create those relationships, and you're doing that really, really well. So I love that, man. That
Appreciate
gives us
that.
a ton of great insight for agents. Like, I mean, I get it all the time, right? An agent will say to me, hey, what's something new that I can go do? I just found the thing that they can go do. Go be a great human in your community and be memorable, and that'll help your business. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That was pretty incredible. But now you're also doing some other really cool stuff. All right. So you were able to come out to our event. You held a mixer with us. You're really part of it, but you've gone down the path of learning exactly what to say and become a certified Phil Jones EWTS trainer. I love
Mhm.
that, but I'd love to hear more about why that journey is so important to you, and what are you hoping to accomplish by going down this next path?
I mean, there's so many things I want to accomplish, and I think it really goes back to the fact of how I love building relationships. And I think there's so much beauty within conversation. And there are 3 years there where everybody got terrified to talk to one another. Nobody's really talking to anybody anymore. And I feel that everybody got stuck to social media. People forget how to actually communicate. In my opinion, it was weird coming out of it a little bit, right? Face to face conversations and just really keeping people locked in and engaged. And relationships mean so much to me, and I found a lot of success in my business because of building and forging strong relationships, not only with allied partners, the people that we work with, from brokers and inspectors and all those different things like that, but our clients and our customers. And there's a lot of lazy language that gets used, right, because of it. So I mean, trying to find a better way to have conversations again and really tap into the subconscious and just be, more pulley, instead of pushy with conversation is the best. People want to be heard. People want to talk again. I truly believe that in my heart of hearts. I truly believe people want to talk. And there's a lot of things that when we can come from compassion and empathy, I mean, that puts itself way above in value than 50 other agents out there that are just showing, this is what I do, this is what I've done, this is what so yeah.
It's funny you say that because when COVID hit, we were one of the first teams to go to doors. Now, everybody's told us we were crazy. You guys are insane. You guys can't go out there door knocking like it's COVID. And I was like, listen, everybody's home and everybody's got a problem of some sort, and I want to be there. I want to be the first person that they see. I want to be the first person that they talk to. We had an incredible year that year.
Mm,
And we were so respectful, right? Like we are door knockers. We're prospecting based in our organization. We're okay with that. And
mm,
we knocked on doors and people were like, hey, what are you doing here? And we're like, hey, we just came out to see you because we understood that, you might be locked in the home. You may have some questions, you may not. We just want to have a conversation with you. We'll stand at the end of the driveway or whatever. We just want to talk to you about what's happening in the world. And here's what we're seeing in real estate. Just giving them value and pouring into them. And we had such great responses. We had such great responses to people in that. And so this year I got asked, because we know the market's a little tricky. Interest rates are up and down, and banks haven't quite adjusted. Sellers are still a little unreasonable. Pricing has come down. Like it's the chaos of the real estate market. And I was talking to a bunch of agents, and they said, what would you do differently this year, in order to be in this market? And I said, what makes you think I'm going to do anything different than what I've always done?
right.
And they said, what do you mean by that? I said, honestly, I'm going to do everything that I've always done, which is to talk to people, to add value to their lives, and to see if there's a problem that I can help solve. But most importantly, I need to go back to developing relationships with people throughout this process.
Hmm.
And, our team's having a better year this year than we had last year. We're having
Amazing.
more
Congrats.
conversations than we've ever had. Right. And and a lot of agents are struggling right now, and I'm having that question with them, and I'll say to them, what if you just went back to COVID times and you just made care calls? What if you just called everybody who knew you and you just said, hey, I know things are weird right now out there. Would it be helpful if I popped over, we had a coffee together and just chatted, got to know each other again? Would that be helpful? And that's a
Yeah.
Phil Jones line, right? I mean, Phil gave
Yeah.
us that one, and I joked with him when I was chatting. I said, Phil, we use that one right away. And he said, what's the result? And I said, immediately conversations went up. Immediately.
Yeah. It is. And it's so incredible to think that this language that we've known to speak for such a long period of time can just be used in a just slightly different way and sequence and in a different method. And it's a non-combative way of finding motivation and everything else like this. I don't like the word persuasion, or I don't like it. It just makes me feel icky inside. But I truly believe that, you know, um, providing help, providing assistance and care, just asking the questions to give yourself some context and coming from a place of empathy. I mean, showing that you care, over there to use your example of when you guys were the only ones that were door knocking, to have conversations at the foot of the driveway and people inside weren't able to see anybody really or have these conversations. You were putting yourselves out there to be like, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing right now? You know what I mean? What can we talk about? I know that we're down here, we're obeying all of their rules and their structure, but we find importance in connecting with you regardless through these times. And you did that, and when nobody else was. And that's what's so powerful about, the approach that you took.
Well, and to your point, it just helped us deepen relationships with people who
Yeah.
were lonely. We had people that we got groceries for. I remember knocking this lady's door, and I took a few steps, went down the stairs, and so we were like 10 feet apart. And she opened her door, a little old lady, and she goes, "Oh my God, I'm so happy you stopped by." And I said, "Why? What's going on?" She goes, "I haven't seen another human in over 3 weeks." She goes, I'm locked in the house. It's just me. And I said, that sounds really scary. how are you surviving? She goes, I don't have anything. And so I remember hopping in the car. I just abandoned the day, hopped in the car, went and got her some food. And I came back and I said, hey, I just grabbed you like a bunch of stuff. Hopefully you like it all. And here's some groceries for the week. We didn't think about it. We didn't overcomplicate it. We just said, we got to go be better humans and go develop relationships. I think one of the things that's happened, you talk about this language and you talk about connection. And it's the curse of social media to me. I tell people this and they tell me I'm crazy. I'm like, but look at how we talk today. We talk in memes, we talk in captions. Like we don't communicate with humans the way we used to do. And I think that's the lost art, and where what Phil's doing is starting to become really helpful because he's reminding us of how to be human in our conversations
Yes,
again. You finding the same or
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what gets me so excited. Ever since I went to his 3-day certification in New York, like, I mean, I was following, after Jason Abrams' first podcast episode, and Phil Jones was the first guest on there. Jason Abrams went 16, 17, 18 episodes, and I have a colleague over, a really good colleague over in my office here that asked, have you heard episode 16? I said, I haven't even gotten over episode one because it's just been on repeat the whole time. Just hearing just the way that conversations would be navigated in such an easier fashion just by how you ask the questions, right? I had an old sales trainer from long, long, long time ago before real estate, and he said, Mike, just make it their idea, right? It's kind of what make it their idea. And going through this Phil Jones training, it's that not that I'm trying to plant little key and like press their hot buttons, but the moment that they say, yeah, that's right, instead of, yeah, Mike, you're right, it naturally becomes the progression that is now their idea that they have also agreed that is the next best step. And I truly believe that in an industry right now where people are finding difficulty, or they're burnt out, they're not having the best conversations, or they're not finding a win, I think if they leverage better conversation and ask better questions in the proper method, they will start to win, because the other side is going to be realizing, wow, Andre is like, that I never thought of it that way. Thank you so much for painting that picture. We got to paint pictures for our clients, right? Possibilities, pros, cons, right?
right.
I mean, it's everything like that. It's so great. Ah, man, I love this language
I
thing,
mean,
man.
we're
It
just helping them
feels great.
identify. Yeah, we're just helping them identify a different solution, right? I mean, it's sure we might be right, we might be wrong for them, but we don't know that until we get into that dialogue, that conversation with them. And I love that you said, that word persuasion so icky, right? I mean, we're not trying to persuade anybody to do anything. We're just trying to give them all the information so that they can make the right decision. And if we're the right decision, great. And if we're not the right decision, also great.
That's right. That's right. And I think through this journey as well, Andre, is that it's not necessarily what, um, just helping them with that particular idea. We just have, using the exactly what to say method and the methodology, and just understanding putting the reps in to understand the method and these pantry of words will help us better articulate our value as well. There's oftentimes it's like, if we slow down the process, we hear it so much, slow down the process. Clippers, they trust the process. They slow down the process, right? But it's just,
Uh,
if we just slow it down a little bit, and then just actually convey ourselves better, articulate ourselves better in terms of what makes us valuable, instead of cutting commission down, instead of looking for that easy button, we'll start to win conversations. I mean, it'll be great.
Well, it's an old army thing, right? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And they talk
Yeah.
about it because for them, you're reloading your weapon, you're reloading your rifle, whatever, in the middle of a war. And if you panic, that's it, right? I mean, you're dead, you're out of the game, kind of thing. And so they literally just slow down and they go smooth, right? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And so that's the exact same point. Is if we would just slow down as human beings and just take some time to understand what people are going through, consult with them, chat with them, give them this opportunity to really talk to us. And I love when Phil showed, the word silent and the word listen have the exact same letters in it. That one, I was like, what a simple
Move
concept, but how
everything
powerful is
around.
that, right? So by list, Yeah, you just move a few letters over, and all of a sudden listening becomes silent. And that one was impactful for me because a lot of people listen to respond. And one of my first coaches, she said that to me. She goes, most people are listening so they can give you an answer. They're not listening to hear you, and they're not listening to slow down long enough to be thoughtful. And I think when you
Hmm.
start to slow yourself down, and when I coached full time, and I would do this trick where every time I would ask a question, I would mute myself. So even if I got the urge to talk, I would have to take that extra second to unmute myself.
Right.
And just that extra second would allow the other person to keep talking. And it would force me to completely stop doing the stupidity that I was going to do, which was going to be to interrupt them and respond to them. And so by putting that little trick in, I was able to actually keep that silence going and listen to people even more.
Hmm.
And men are especially guilty for this, right? Women tend to be better at communication than men are, and
Right.
men, sorry guys, it's just a fact, right? Men, we take a pause, and the other person thinks, "Oh, there's a pause. I'm jumping in,"
Yeah,
and
that's
so
right.
by muting myself, I was able to, get the pause. They were able to get their pause in, and then continue on their thought without me having to jump in, and just slowing myself down, because that's one of my blind spots is I want to jump in and I want to help right away. I don't want to give solutions. So I got to slow myself down that way as well. And it sounds like you're doing the exact same thing in your real estate process, as you're going slow to go fast.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And to that point, Andre, out of your years of experience, right, and years of helping many people and having many conversations, it's just, because out of experience, you know what to potentially like kind of suggest to them, a certain path, but the biggest thing is allowing them to express themselves and get their thoughts out and get their feelings out as well, right? There may be a time where we will need to help guide them and help them to their decision, and actually say, yes to something. You're right, instead of you just saying, Andre, you're right, that's right. um, but yeah, we still have to allow them to express themselves at the same time as well too, right?
Oh, 100%. Your clients need to be heard, right? If you're struggling at the conversion table, slow down, right? Just start listening, and they'll tell you exactly why you're there, because you're there for a reason, right? Nobody lets you in their home,
100%.
for just to hang out, right? Not a real estate
That's right.
agent anyway. Like if they know if they're letting us in, it's because we got something to sell. And so if you just slow down, one of my favorite things to
Mhm.
do with clients is to say, hey, today's not about me. You already know about me. Let's talk about you. And they just feel so heard, and so that opportunity for them to be able to just have that conversation is so incredible. So I love that you're doing that, and I love that you're sharing and giving back in all these incredible ways. You've built a business in one of the ways that we don't have a lot of people come to the table, and talk about that. You just said, hey, I'm going to be a community guy, I'm going to be an events guy, I'm just going to share with the people who know, like, and love me. I'm going to build a referral business out of that. And so I love that you've done that, guys. That is one of the strategies you can implement. Mike, one of the things we ask before we do wrap up, is we always ask for, what's your mic drop moment? What's something you've heard that these people absolutely need to hear? Or what's something that you believe in you that you want to share with the audience that they absolutely have to hear? It's your mic drop, your one liner or one paragraph that you would want to share with our audience today.
Well, you touched on, it's one of the things that I've been talking about a lot, especially in our bold room, because we've been doing this, rolling out the new bold. We're going to be wrapping it up here soon, and we hear a lot. There's a lot of noise out there. Oh, AI is going to take our job one day, and blah blah blah, this and this. And my response to that, and don't get me wrong, AI is very very intelligent, as you know, right? There's a lot of ways to do it. But somebody, I think over at your event, I was talking to them, and they mentioned something, and I said, you know what AI won't do? That it won't sit across from a widow who just lost her husband and cry with that widow because they raised their family in there for the last 80 years, and be able to sit there for a longer period of time, and be able to provide that value of being a shoulder to cry on and somebody to listen and help to guide them. Nobody's gonna in the big world of social media. There's a lot of impersonation. You see a lot that's going out there as well. So as much as social media will allow us to be able to build our brand and get us out there, one of the things I like to tell my brokerage and other people that I talk to focus on as well is focus on the value in the form of empathy and compassion, right? Because you can type whatever you want to. You can put your hand up and say, I do this on media and everything else like this, and I have this accolade and this award. But really, at the end of the day, and you kind of alluded to this as well, because, this meeting is all about you. I challenge people who have a listing package to drop it off on a Monday, make the joke at the door and be like, I don't want Wednesday to be about me, but you're going to have questions about this. Is what I do. Take a look over it, late night reading, whatever you want to do. Wednesday is all about you because I tell these, the other colleagues within my brokerage, I said, you're going to allot an hour. You're going to talk about yourself for 50 minutes and give 10 minutes to talk about them. What kind of value is that? Right. So I'm just like, what happens? Could it be possible, Phil Jones, could it be possible that you can drop off and you can allow them in their own place where you're not pressing your value on them that is on paper, but then you can meet up with them on a Wednesday and actually say, hey, one, do you have any questions about this? At the very end, but really, let's talk about you. Why do you want to sell this house? What are your favorite rooms in this house? Right. So all those things like that. If we focus on that, I truly believe in my heart of hearts that we will win more out there in a changing marketplace for sure.
I love that. I love that. Great share, Mike. Great share. Listen, if people want to get in touch with you, they're looking. We're in over 22 countries in the world, so you might, the Philippines is one of the countries we get some listeners in as well. But if people want to try to track you down, they want to connect with you, they want to learn more, or even do business with you, understand what you're doing. What's the best way for us to get a hold of you?
Well, we just recently launched our site, and it is theconduitculture.com, right? HTTPS colon slash slash www.theconduitculture.com. It has all branches of our real estate aspect. You'll see the team there, everything to find out more about bringing us in to hold certifications or trainings or anything coast to coast, because we are the only two exactly what to say certified guides in Keller Williams Canada, which at this point we're very very honored to be that. But yes, we don't want to shoot for number one. That isn't the part that serves us. What serves us is being able to help other people find themselves and become number one. That's how I get a charge. That's how Erica gets a charge out of it. We just love to see people do better, and in turn the practice and the reps, we get better, right? So, that's the love that we have for the real estate industry for sure.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, folks, this has been another episode of the Real Estate Hustle Podcast. You know where to find me. My name is Andre Chan. Instagram's probably the easiest way to track me down. We're on all platforms as well. So we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcast. Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to just chat with you, shoot the shit, and just rap a little bit today. Here are the incredible things that you're doing. So I love that you've made time for us today. Thank you so much. And folks, tune in. Mike's
Thank
got
you.
a ton of great stuff. Go back and listen to this one again. Nuggets all the way through it. Thank you, Mike, so much for being here today.
Thank you. Absolutely honored, Andre. Thank you so much, man.